Greetings. Happy Monday. This is Naima Singletary with the power to lead an unseen vision. I am here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Europe time for this very uncommon intelligence that is required and necessary now for those of us who have been in the closet for years as far as our power is concerned. Those of us who were born with visions meant to change culture, to change lenses, to change industries, and now require the word, the select community, the knowing, and the spiritually aligned action. Whew, the spiritually aligned action to move forward with what it is that we know. Not what we think, not what we feel, not what we believe, even if we may have all those things, but to have that penetrating power, to have that transformative power, to assert unusual power, comes from that rooted, untampered place of knowing. And so I'm an advisor, thought leader, and global speaker to emerging visionaries who know that they have a multi-million or billion-dollar vision to bring to the world in the form of a business. And I am here to speak to what is required to be in the absolute power to move a thing, to speak, to embody the power that's required to birth a thing that the world has yet to see. So today's topic is arrogant bitch is what they call you. Because we live here on planet Earth where we have these linear, limited brains and millions of people, billions of people who refuse to be the sovereignty that they were born to get clear about what it is that they're born to do, and have chosen permanently to live a mediocre, less than life, and will make you wrong and bad and confront you around your natural state of being, the highness that you were born as. And so I have been called many terrible things. And every man and woman who I know who is successful, some version of successful, who is working on the leading edge of things. They're not, there's a difference between being the highest selling person in an industry and the person who's shifting the industry. Know who you are. I'm talking to the people who are shifting the industry. When you are bringing content that's threatening the status quo, whether you're in healthcare, whether you are in the pharmaceutical industry, whether you are in the sexual liberation industry, whether you are in politics, whether you are in finance, whether you are in government, whether you are in technology, when you are on the leading edge of any industry, you will be accosted. It comes with the territory. I was talking with a fellow blessed one about a week or so ago, and she was talking about the low regard that many people have for her. Keep in mind, these people who have low regard for her are people who are a part of the status quo. They are what you might call normal people who aren't doing much of anything and has a limited capacity through which to see things. One of your powers as a magician, as a blessed few, as being a part of the powerful and protected classes, you're able to see things from all angles. Your ability to do that is the degree to which you have alchemized any shame that you hold. Typically, the degree to which we hold shame about anything, fill in the blank, is the degree to which we're unable to look at others purely because we're unable to look at ourselves purely. Everybody else is just a mirror of ourselves. And so when she was talking about, these people look at me with low regard, I said to her, it comes with the territory, darling. Expect it. And this is what separates the gifted from the blessed few. See, because there are many gifted people who are so absurdly and overwhelmingly consumed with what people think of them. They are choked by the fear of what people will think, of being ostracized. Their biological systems of needing to belong, of needing to be loved, is often hijacked when it comes time for them to make a difference in the world, when it comes time for them to show up powerfully. And I'm telling you the same way I told her, that it comes with the territory, and this is what will start to separate you from everybody else. Like the people who show up here just for spiritual masturbation versus the people who actually do something. The people who actually take what they know. Not what they think, not what they feel, not what they believe, because I believe. No. Your power, your penetrating power. This is the power that I teach on. This is the environment that I create for my clients behind the scenes. We operate from knowing, not from belief and hope and wish and think and feeling, knowing. And so this whole arrogant bitch thing is just one of many things that you may have already been called or will be called. And I have been called. I want to tell the story of how this came about. And it was the first time somebody said to me, wait, did she say it to me? Arrogant. How did I find out? I can't remember. This was like 2015. But anyway, I just remember I found out some kind of way that this woman, she had a podcast and she interviewed me. And I just loved the podcast. I love her. I love what she stands for. I still love what she stands for. And we recorded the podcast. I was living in Milan. I remember I was sitting on my couch. It was a beautiful day. And we did the podcast and it was finished. And she explained to me, okay, after, this is how it's going to go. And it's going to go live at this time and because it was pre-recorded. And it didn't go live when it was supposed to go live. And then somehow I got distracted and I didn't ask her about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ask her at some point what's going on. And then in the meantime, I was listening to another recording that she did with somebody else because she did interviews regularly. And I remember being happy. Like I enjoyed the podcast. And I remember I messaged her on Facebook and I was like, so I just heard your podcast with such and such, and really gave the praises and shared with her how I felt about it, that I thought it was awesome, etc. And then here it is. I remember now. She sent me a message back telling me, and I didn't even ask her I hadn't yet asked her about mine. And she beat me to it, and she went into telling me that mine wasn't published because I'm arrogant. Now, she didn't say arrogant bitch. I've had other people call me arrogant bitch. She didn't use the word bitch. She just called me arrogant. And then when I questioned her about what was arrogant about it and she answered it, I thought to myself, and I actually said to her, that's projection. I remember saying to her, that's projection 101. That's what I said to her. That's projection 101. That's what I said to her. Because what she expressed to me as arrogant was really me being very clear about what it is that I was talking about. I was clear. I was unapologetic. I was definitely operating from a place of knowing this is really where I stand on this subject. I can't even remember what we were talking about, but I remember in the moment having that conversation with her where I was unapologetically clear about what it is that I was talking about. And I went to assess it because I'm at the point and was at the point at that time and have gotten a lot better too. Because it gets, like I told you, as you ascend, you go through the same shit just at a higher level. It's like, can you handle it at this level? Okay, can you handle it at this level? Okay, can you handle it at this level? So I still deal with the same thing now. It's just higher level, higher level, higher level. So even at that time, and we were messaging back and forth. This wasn't a verbal conversation, so I got a chance to really think about what she was messaging me versus, in a verbal conversation, it's a back and forth, and you typically don't think about it until after you hang up. But in this one, it was text conversation on Facebook. And so I was thinking, and I started to think about what she was declaring as arrogant. And I said, No, and see, this is how you really have to tease out what is yours and what's everybody else's. Remember, I talked about discernment versus high discernment. Discernment versus high discernment. It is so easy, especially if you're in a group, especially when you're with somebody who you have an affinity for, a respect for, someone you admire, where it's harmony between you two. Sometimes it can be real hard to tease out what's theirs and what's yours, because we have a tendency to be like, that's where that whole you become the average of the 5 people you hang around, because we have a tendency to be like who we're around, okay? And so this is a moment where high discernment, because I've been practicing this stuff for years, you guys. But I had to tease out, okay, is there any truth here? There's power in really, when someone hurls something at you and it feels like a blow, right? It feels like something hostile and nasty and hurtful. The natural reaction is to be like, no, it's not true. But your power and really also being able to be clear in your own self-awareness and understanding how other people perceive you is so important for you as a leader. It's critical. And being able to understand how you perceive yourself versus how other people see you. So in that moment, when she said to me, well, I thought you were arrogant, and so I didn't publish it, and went on to explain, etc. And I remember I paused when she explained to me what she felt I was being arrogant about. And I remember I was just like, wow, well, Naima, what, is that arrogant? Were you being arrogant? So you have to do the same thing. When someone hurls something at you, whether it's arrogant bitch or selfish whatever or whatever, right? And I got real clear with myself that that is true. Not the arrogant part, but that what I said and what I stood for during that podcast, I mean that. There's no separation in that. There's no, and so was really important for me then, and is important for you and continues to be important, is to recognize that people will call you names not because it's true for you, but it's true for them. And you have to learn how to divide. Gosh, you got to get so good. Like, I feel like this could be an entirely different show. And it's so important to me. It's so important to me to really be able to support specifically women, because men seem to be able to know how to do this more naturally. But to really be able to divide and separate and know that people are going to hurl things at you. You're on the leading edge of consciousness. You are bringing forth things. You are shifting industries. You may be the first face of a person who's saying the things you're saying, who's doing the things you're doing, who's leading, who's showing up the way you are. And most people don't have the lens to even be able to perceive you accurately. And then here I am, I've been in situations since then, because that was over 3 years ago. I've been in situations since then where I can see where a person feels like I'm supposed to settle for a certain thing, be okay for a certain thing. Who knows the reason why? Like, I could project and make up reasons about whys. But I can see, and this is probably true for you, where people, you're female, if you're a person of color, if you're younger, oh God, the stories I hear about young people who feel so trapped by youth because people don't take them seriously, or even older people who, feel like they're aged out of the world of transformation or leading edge. And so I want you to really get good with taking bullets from people. Start by really sitting down and being radically honest about who you are. So, for example, I led a very successful event in London last year. It was called the More Than Enough Money event. And one of the chief goals of the event was to get people to really come into power around money, and to really look at the stories that they have around money, and to walk out of there much more ready to receive $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 clients. And one of the assignments I had them do was to write out who they are. Who are you? Just write out, who are you? So we took like 3 minutes, we put a stopwatch on and had everybody write out, who are you? And the typical predictable thing happened. People were like, I am a mother that is, blah, blah, right? I'm helpful mother, sister, wife, blah, 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 blah. And I remember asking the room, this one particular woman, British woman, she was married. I think she has two or three kids. And after she read hers, I asked the room, so what did you think about that? What's your feeling about that? And they were just like, just this generic, like, empowering, like these generic answers. And then I asked the room, was there anybody who just kind of felt like, yeah, okay, whatever, okay. Was there anybody who felt like that? And then I had a few people raise their hand. And then, so then what I did is I went on to share verbally who I was. This went on as a group because we did this collectively. It was so freaking awesome. It totally relaxed the room. It changed the vibration of the room. It stretched out the energy of the room because there was a permission to be radically honest in the room. And I said, well, this is who I am. I said, I can be selfish, I can be a bitch, I can be demanding. I just really went into what I had come to know, what was honest about how I can be. Okay? So I named all these things that typically lay in the shadows of people consciousness that controls them. Okay? That lays in the shadows of consciousness because we all want to, I'll speak for myself, wanted to appear good. This is once upon a time. Wanted to appear good and wholesome and nice and friendly and respectable and right? And I learned so much more about this in helping women heal sexual trauma, right? So I said, I can be all these things. I can be a bitch. I can be demanding. I can be selfish. I said, and I can also be incredibly loving, loyal, deeply supportive, deeply like the whole gamut. So from this extreme to this extreme and everything in between. And then I said to everybody, with that, me doing that was to give permission to the room, okay? So with me doing that, I said, okay, now I want everybody to rewrite who you are, right? And this one woman is not the only woman who shared this rosy, nice thing. Like maybe 4 other women had shared these typical whatevers. And after I shared my position about how I perceive myself, I said to everybody, okay, I want you to rewrite who you are. Oh, this is where it got fun. Oh, another woman stood up, a black woman stood up, and she was like, I have kids and I can be selfish, I can be this, I can be that. And then folks just start standing up, sharing the truth about the shit that they was not sharing before, okay? And so it is essential for us to do this because when you get out there, as you are already out there, and you're creating your videos like this, or you're doing your podcasts, or you're writing your posts, or you're speaking on stages, and you're going on tour, and you're sharing your message with the world, your product, your service, your belief, your whatever, you are going to have people who are going to be, especially if you're working with me and you're really stepping up in power in a way that most women are not. Oh, they're coming after you. Let me just, right? Here's the relief, right? Just expect that they're coming after you. And so you are going to have to learn how to divide, first of all, what is true for others, what is true for you, like what is yours and what is everybody else's, and being able to assess what is true about what somebody says to you. Because if somebody, like if she called me arrogant and there was a part of me that actually knows myself to be arrogant, then I would be like, yeah, there is a part of me that's arrogant and that's what it is. Like if somebody calls me selfish, I'll be like, yeah, there is a part of me that is selfish. Like, so when someone hurls something at me, when someone hurls something at you, for you to be able to show up powerfully and not be wiped out by it. Don't reduce your prices because you're afraid of what people are going to think. Don't stop speaking at places because you're afraid of someone. Stop doing this, reduce, modify. Yeah, because of what she's going to say, what he's going to say, what your mom's going to say, right? That was mine for a while. Like, oh God, what's going to happen with my relationship with me and my mom when I start making more money than her? That was my thing years ago. And I remember having to have an actual conversation because there was such a strangle on the way I was showing up in my business and even in the way I would show up with her as I was starting to, even in my body, start to allow myself to feel powerful in my body in front of my mother. Isn't that something? That might not be your thing, but I know a lot of women who that's been a thing for, and I've magnetized those kind of women because that was my struggle once upon a time. And so that really is the message for today, to sit down and assess honestly who you are. And sometimes it can be so hard because the confrontation of shame that we hold is not a normal thing, right? It's not a celebrated thing. It's not an encouraged thing. But the things that you hold shame about, how do you feel about your pussy? How do you feel about your bank account? How do you feel about your relationships, past and current? How do you feel about your looks? How do you feel about mistakes you've made? How do you feel, like all this stuff that is a collection of stories, or how you perceive yourself today, right now. How much is that influencing the way you're showing up in your power? And so if you're unable to really look at yourself honestly, sit down, write it out, then first of all, either somebody's going to hurl something at you and you're not going to be able to take it. It's going to make you play smaller than you already are. Or you're not going to play big at all, because it's shame and power, like infinite stretched power, cannot coexist. This is a big part of the work. Man, it's just so rich and deep, the work that I do with my clients, because it's the work I've had to do. The depth of I was watching T.D. Jakes the other day, and he said that, he said something that I knew, but when someone says something that you know, and it's like, oh, it strikes at your knowing. He said that when you know that you're powerful and you're stepping into power, be ready for pain. Just like I told you, if you're really on the leading edge and you're really changing things and you're calling in millions, be ready for people to call you everything. Arrogant bitch, greedy fraud, manipulative cunt, bitch. Like, just expect it. Not only expect it, allow it in and question if there's any truth in there. That's a great way for you to, if you can handle it, that's a great way for you to start to self-assess if you have a hard time self-assessing yourself. So when somebody throws something at you, the shit that stings is the shit that's worth looking at. So I always wondered, and I still wonder, why it is that I feel so much pain. Why have I suffered the way I have? And even please make no mistake that I'm a powerful woman. That's clear. That's why you're here. I have made fabulous money. Continue to make fabulous money. Have a mind that is so incredibly rare. A consciousness that's beyond this world. I'm easily among the blessed few. I could, the list of blessings, I could just, right? Now, see, a person with a small lens could call me arrogant right now. This is not arrogance. This is what it is. See, learn to separate boasting and speaking what is. And yet, the devil visits me. I have to, not even have to, I choose to, it's a requirement for the position that I'm in, question my high discernment. Because high discernment is about a subtlety. And I recognize, and I had learned this the hard way, that my action or inaction, my decision is affecting other people. People who are entrusting me with their vulnerability, their transformation, their vision. And so in the middle of the night, which is when it's the worst, I go, that subtlety of high discernment, and it pangs me. It pangs, not P-A-I-N, but pang like a, and I have pains in my body. The level of, the depth to which I have navigated shame, my shame, and darkness, and that is so essential. Like, I can see through everybody because I've done this. You will be able to see through everybody working with me. It is required for you to be among the blessed few who's navigating. Remember I told you about the earthquakes, right? And I'm going to be talking about this later this week, I think on Wednesday, about you, okay? You making a decision, holding a standard, and the tornado that will happen around you. How do you maintain clarity in that? When you get an impulse, you get information from infinite intelligence to go that way, some kind of way that's a pivot from the way that you're normally, the way you normally go. And you got people who are impacted by your decisions, people who are paying you $20, $50, $100,000. And not because, oh, the money, but because there's a trust there. I made a decision, and this is why I'm so adamant, you guys, about high discernment. This is required. This is not negotiable. This is not like I'll get to it after I do this other stuff. High discernment is so required because I think I talked about this where I was blinded by excitement. I was blinded by excitement. I was blinded by excitement. And this woman, it was so subtle. It was so subtle. And in hindsight, I saw it clearly. And even in the moment, I saw it, but it was so subtle. It's okay. We'll get through it. And I talked myself out of that subtle, tiny hair of a thing. I'm telling you, it's never the big things. It's the subtlest things that hold the deepest, wisest intelligence that you must listen to. So, and that me ignoring that, and that wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last time, it was just one of the most explosive times that I said, gosh, Naima, that high discernment. So I share that with you from experience. Gosh, I want you to, wherever you don't have to suffer, don't suffer. So, I want you to do that assignment. First of all, I want you to sit down and get really honest about who you are. Be honest, whatever, just go there. And then so now what I want to share is, I came up with the name. Remember, I don't know if you were here on Friday, but Friday's show, I shared an invitation with you that I'm really excited about. And I want to share a little bit about, for those of you who can see beyond my human exterior, what will be required of you as well is a cultivation that is completely of your inner world. And after I made the invitation, I wasn't even planning on sharing this, but I want to share it to give, because it speaks to the whole thread of the blessed few, the powerful and protected class. The whole, what will be the underlying thread in every show here. It's who I am. It's the woman who's really meant to work with me. It's who she is. And so I made the announcement on Friday's show about, I didn't have a name. So the name is The Spirit of Highness. And this is, I was writing some content today for the site to send to the designer. And this is, I'm so happy and honored to be here for myself and for you. It has been years. Right. So everything I'm getting ready to share has happened throughout the years. It has been years of being angry with God, like, why? And like if I'm to be used, if I'm really here for a purpose, why am I hurting like this? Why am I struggling like this? Evictions, sleeping in my car, just horrible shit with men. Just like, shame and just always not belonging. Oh, that has been a big one, not belonging. And the path that has been my life. So just you fill in the blank for yourself, right? The path that has been your life. Why you've never belonged? Why have you always been weird? Why is it that, like, there have been times when I had the best intentions and shit blew up? Why is it that when I'm here, it's like blow up? And how do I end up in these environments where I'm the odd, like, just like this life that begets questions about why you, like, how did this happen? How did you end up here? Why did I? And the way, the depths that my mind, the level of healing, the level of pain that I have been willing to navigate, the level of truth, the level of isolation, the level of terror, the level of, like, I am so not of this world. And I'm here for the woman who has always also not been of this world and is very clearly, you have zero doubt. You're very clear that you have a thing to bring to the world. That's who I'm here in service to. That's who I'm made for. So I made the announcement on Friday's show about the Spirit of Highness, which is happening in San Francisco, December 20th. This is for us. It is curated. It's one of those things where you're in or you're out. There's very binary. There are many things in the world that are gray and negotiable, and this is binary. So the site will be live, I'd say, about next Monday. And registration will be open. And so that's Monday, December 20th at the historic Fairmont Hotel. We're going to be in a private suite that'll only be given to those who are registered. It will be opulent and exclusive and strictly reserved for the blessed few. But I made the announcement on Friday's show. Grateful and honored. And that night, I was just so disturbed. I was so disturbed in bed that night, like, because what it is the vibration of the reality of the people who I'm calling in. This is of the infinite. It's not like, oh, an event in San Francisco at his 5-star suite. This is, right? And this I know. This is not. And this is what I mean by, it's disturbing. Arrogant. Bitch, do you know what I go through being me? I couldn't sleep this morning, like, knowing the show was here and recommitting. Like, I made the announcement, but a part of me that night was like, are you really gonna do this kind of thing? Because this is a high responsibility on my part, very high. To hold this container for these powerful fucking beings in a room. It changes the game in a room. And so over the weekend, it was like a recommitting. This is what's required of you. Who would understand this but someone who navigates this same path? Who would even care except for someone who navigates the same path? I'm creating something that does not exist. And not because I even want to. Catch that. Not because I want to. Even on the page, it's like, this is not for somebody who wants to. This is for those of us who cannot help ourselves. It demands to come through. It demands to come through. Like, if I wasn't doing this work, I would be very okay with dying. Like, I've had so much of the material, selfish, I was born to do this. And that doesn't mean I'm immune to struggle, pain, suffering, tapping in 10 times to my higher discernment. This morning, I think I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. I don't even know if that was sleep. It was just like laying in the bed. So let me be clear that I am here in service to the woman who is born to change things, who is born to be colossal. You can't help yourself. And you recognize that it is your responsibility to refine your skills so that you, with ease, call in the big money. With greater ease, you make the decisions that are required, decision by decision, by decision, by decision, by decision, in birthing your thing that you must stand for in the face of opposition, in the face of hurricanes, in the face of the mortal mind. And the rewards, you guys, the rewards. This is why I call it the powerful and the protected class, because when you walk through the door, as I have said before, because there is definitely a door to walk through, and money does not give you permission to walk through the door. Money does not, it has everything to do with energy and what you are truly called to do. And when you show up with that level of, I know, not save me, or I hope so, or maybe, or I would like to, or I want to, or I want to try. And this is also a door that I help you walk through. And you're not bad or wrong or less than when you don't walk through. It just either you're not who you think you are, or it's not your time. You're not who you think you are, or it's not your time. You're not who you think you are, or it's not your time. Take that in. Or you're not willing. So, as a Black woman who has and continue to live an anomaly life, make anomaly money for transformation. I'm in the transformation space. Who, like, the intelligence I'm operating from, like, don't be fooled. This is not, I get cute on camera because I'm aware that you look at me first with a mortal mind. And then for those of you, you can look at me to the degree of your intelligence, to the degree of your lens. That's the greatest to which you can look at me. And that I help to support in expanding your lens by you watching me. Okay? And yet, the work that we will be doing, whether you come to the Spirit of Highness, December 20th in San Francisco, whether we end up working together for a year, remember, 3 folks deep, 1 year, is beyond what you're looking at. It's beyond what you can see with your eyes. It's really tapping into that the power that I would have been hung for if I even thought about it 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And that you and I are lucky to be alive today. We are so freaking lucky. And I'm exploiting the fuck out of this shit that I get a chance to be alive now. And I will not live out the life and consciousness of the people before me. 1, because I was born to change things. And 2, I'm here now in 2019, like you. So December 20th The Spirit of Highness, 10 folks only. We will be going into your content, the way you're writing, the power in which you show up, the language that you use, who you are. And perhaps the best thing is you will be in a room with other high folks who are cultivating a consciousness that allows them to be able to penetrate things, to call in the people, the resources, to be able to make large amounts of money regularly and more and more and more and more and more, and make those high discerning decisions that are required to birth a thing. That's December 20th in San Francisco. The site will be live about next Monday. You will be notified. If you're not already on the email list to be notified, there is a link with this video. So go ahead and check with this video. There's a link where you can opt in to make sure you get notifications in San Francisco. So that's that, the Spirit of Highness, December 20th, San Francisco. I am also available for those of you, the blessed few who know. I'm going to repeat this for those who may be hearing my voice for the first time. I am not here for people who are exploring their options because you enjoyed watching this video and you just thought it would be a good idea to message me. I am not here to spiritually masturbate with you, for you to get off with all that. I am here for those of you who know. Had I saw me, like on camera, the way you're seeing me now, had I seen me 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, she is for me. I am my own hero. I am the woman that I wish more women were, a level of sovereignty and power that allows you to create that which does not exist, based strictly from knowing. Screw the outer conditions, mean nothing. When this is aligned and clear, nobody, nothing can touch you. So I am available for those of you who know that I'm here for you. You know that you will quantum and you will grow beyond all the growing you've been doing over the last decade. You know that that will be exponential as a result of working intimately and one-on-one with me. So I have availability for a VIP day in San Francisco on the 22nd of December, December 22nd. So there's a lot of dates going on. So December 20th is the Spirit of Highness. December 21st, I already have a VIP day. So I have one more opening for actually a half a VIP day, not a full, but a half a VIP day in San Francisco, December 22nd. And I'm also available to work virtually with those of you who live some other place and you're unavailable or don't see yourself getting on a plane. So that's number 2, right? So Spirit of Highness, working one-on-one in a VIP day, half a VIP day, December 22nd, or one of the 3 for working together for a year. For 2019, working together for a year. And that's where we will be meeting once a quarter for 1 week in one of 4 beautiful hand-selected locations. Those locations include Positano, Italy, Sicily, Italy, Saint-Tropez, France, and the Maldives. So we will be meeting once a week in each of these towns. That's in 2019, and that investment is $75,000, and there's only 3 people who I'm accepting into that. Okay, so remember that this is not you're exploring your options. I just found myself so bothered when somebody emailed me with that last week, like, Naima, I'm exploring my options. So then I thought to myself, perhaps I haven't been clear. So this is me being very clear. Okay. And so this is for women and men who know that they are here to birth a thing that does not exist. And they are ready to be in that impenetrable power that penetrates things. So the power that you see in me, that you know is in you, working with me cultivates that. We also work on your wealth consciousness so that it becomes much easier for you to work with large amounts of money, to call in large amounts of money, to be able to deal with the hostility of holding high standards. That's Wednesday's show, as a matter of fact, the hostility and speed of holding high standards. And being that anomaly woman, that blessed few, that part of the powerful and protected class, that comes when you walk in this kind of power that I'm talking about, okay? So this is a long game. 1 year is just the beginning, frankly. I actually thought about making this a 2-year program, but we'll start with a year. And you really committing to the long game of becoming that woman who was born to do this, okay? So I think that's everything. December 20th, the Spirit of Highness. Admission for that is $500. December 20th, San Francisco at the prestigious and historic 5-star Fairmont Hotel, which is on the Nob Hill of San Francisco. Admission to that is $500. A half a VIP day is $7,500. And the year long for meeting once a quarter, what also calls in between, I don't think I mentioned that, for 1 year, that is $75,000, okay? So you can email me to inquire particularly about the VIP day and the year long, because the site for the Spirit of Highness will be live around Monday of next week. The designer got everything she needed today, so hopefully we'll be done. But anyway, as long as you're on the email list, you will be notified, okay? So with this video is 2 things. 1, my email. That's where you email me to let me know that either the year long or the half a VIP day in San Francisco is for you. Or it could be or. There's also a link to opt into my fabulous subscriber community. So you are notified of these shows. You get your reminders. You get invitations and details that I only share with my list. And you will also get notified when the site is live for the Spirit of Highness. The Spirit of Highness. I'm so excited about that, you guys. I love Christmas. If you love Christmas, you are going to love this. We're going to have our own bar in the suite. We are going to be in a large private suite. And you will be among your people. I'm somebody who's very particular about who I spend time around. And if you know that you're the woman that I'm describing in this video, this is definitely for you. The Spirit of Highness, the year-long, half a VIP day is definitely for you. So claim it, declare it. This is worth getting on a plane for. It is decorated beautifully, and they have a well-celebrated and famous gingerbread house that they build inside of the hotel every year. It's gorgeous. I've been there before. And so if you love Christmas, you're going to love this. If you love the spirit of Christmas, if you love all the greenery and the trees and the cookies and the treats and the holiday flair, you are going to love this. It's one of the reasons why I picked it, because I am a huge Christmas fan. And we can get off on this together. So that concludes today's show. You are welcome to leave me comments below. I do come back and check them. And I thank you so much for being here. There's a lot of places you could be. It's loud out there, and you chose to be here. So thank you for being here. Please share this, right? If you really have found value here, I'm sure that there are others in your world who will also find value as well. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, click subscribe. And you can also click reminders on the videos because these shows are scheduled. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday has already been scheduled. So you can click a reminder under the video to get yourself a reminder, so you have a reminder, okay? So again, thank you so much for being here, and I will be back here on Wednesday. And I remember that the topic is, I said it a minute ago, the hostility and speed in holding high standards. The hostility and speed in holding high standards. Lots of love.